Hi there, Chef Jen and Beth here. We're going to take off our masks in the restaurant and welcome you to the Vinos de Jerez wine dinner. So this video, if you have joined us before, will be slightly different. We just want to mention that we had a little bit of technical difficulty at my house, so we're retaping the introduction from Rioja because we didn't want you to miss anything, all the cool stuff to see. So we'll start this up again, and then later on you'll see it kind of splice into the video that we normally have at my home. Awesome. So yeah, that'll be good. So on this Vinos de Jerez thing, so again, if you haven't been with us, some housekeeping items. Turn your oven on to 400. We get some pots and pans up, put some water on for pasta. We temper all the ingredients as always, and you will notice in all your mise en place, as we call it, things are coded by dots. So pink dot is going to be the first item, and you can gather all your ingredients by the dots, and that way you know which items go with what. So usually we start off with food, but because we have a cocktail to start, I think Beth is going to talk to you about the super cool canned cocktails that we have at Rioja.
I'm super excited. Sherry is one of my favorite subjects. I love it. I fell in love with it when we went to Spain and got to go to the most amazing places. But it can be a little intimidating and it can be a little austere. So we wanted to make it super approachable and make this dinner exactly what you want. It's delicious and a great pairing. So we're going to start out with the Adonis cocktail. It's a classical, sherry cocktail. It's equal parts of a little fina. It can be manzanilla. This is a really special bottle. It only comes from this particular area, so we went with nothing but the best for you guys.
Yes.
And then equal parts with a red vermouth. And this vermouth is also super cool because it's co-owned by two gentlemen. This recipe has been in their family since the 1800s or something like that.
Really.
And
he won't give it out.
cool.
He doesn't tell anybody the recipe too. That's how special it is.
It is so delicious.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's good on its own, just over a little bit of ice, by the way.
I love it. I think it's super great for sipping and just really a great little aperitif. So we're going to send you home with cocktails though, which is super cool, the canning, and we can can any of our cocktails for you guys to go, which I love. This has 3 cocktails in it, so beware.
Yeah, or if you're 2 people, I think we packed it for 2 people in a can too.
Perfect.
But it can have up to 3 in that 12-ounce can. So just good to
three of
know
us?
if later. Well, you and I might have extra today. I'm pretty sure no one's here.
So super easy. If you don't have a shaker at home and don't worry about it. You could literally shake the can. It's not carbonated, so it's totally fine. But we're going to take this and we're going to just put it on some ice and we're going to stir it. Jen, do you mind doing a little of that?
I love a little fresh orange on here, and we're going to take all the skin off there, and we're going to twist this orange over our little glass. Just pour it up and get the oils. Sometimes you want to rub it on the rim if you like. And I think you're going to really like how the orange really is brought out in the different kinds of botanicals and the flavors of this Fino sherry. The orange goes so well with it. You're going to get tons of notes in here, the almond notes, caramely notes, just really fun botanicals. Chamomile.
I love
chamomile. Was one of the notes in here.
Clove a little bit.
Yeah.
And a little vanilla. I love it. I think it's super fun.
Yeah, and at home, if you don't have a fancy glass like Beth, she's very fancy, just take a pint glass with ice and just stir it up with a spoon. No big deal.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, let's
super
see
easy.
how you do.
So cheers.
Cheers. All right. Delicious, light, refreshing. It looks dark,
So good.
and you might think, oh, that looks heavy. Once you try this, love how light it is. And then it's going to go with a really cool dish. So the dish that we're going to pair this with, you guys, is a blood orange panna cotta. And again, you're going to get a little panna cotta at home, and you're going to unwrap it out of the piece of paper, put it directly on your plate. It is delicate, so we use the paper to kind of manipulate it and move it around. And then you have this almond phyllo dough, and we're going to put this almond phyllo dough up right next to the panna cotta for little walls almost, And that guy's bent that way, so maybe I'll turn him this way. All right, and then you'll have a container that has salmon in it, some beautiful sustainable salmon. It already has been lightly, kind of quick cured in blood orange juice, blood orange zest, little salt, pepper, sugar, and then we have Pernod pickled fennel in here, and blood orange, and a little touch. I'd like you to put a little touch of that Malden salt on here that you came with, and I'd also like you to put a little bit of that blood orange oil on here. And the blood orange oil is a really interesting, nice component. And you need a little bit more of that fat because the salmon is actually kind of lean. So then we're gonna mix this up, so super easy. And then we're gonna gently, by holding the walls together, use your spoon and put the salmon inside. So pretty easy preparation at home, but when you're done, you're gonna see how fancy I think this dish is, and it'll be really fun. One of the components that Beth and I love so much about these dinners is you guys get to have fancy meals at home without being in the restaurant, so you can feel safe in your home, you know, and I just love that about what we're doing here.
It brings a whole new level to dining at your house.
Yes.
I think when you sit down and you're looking for like a beautiful creation, that Jen showed you how to do it, and it's super easy, and there's no stress involved with it.
Exactly. Let us stress out for you. All right, so then we're gonna put the Marcona almonds on here, and again, I just gently hold the sides. It should stick once we have everything in there, but the Marcona almond is really important to have in each bite. And then the fried tarragon. So the last pièce de résistance of fried tarragon, also really important. I think when you have the cocktail with this, you're gonna love the almond components, the blood orange, all that. And Matthew, is this a good shot or should I lift it up? All right, so look how fancy this guy looks. So I know our video will kind of splice in here soon, and Jen will talk more about some of the sherries, but thank you so much for dealing with our technical difficulties, and we look forward to hopefully our next wine dinner is all bubbles from Spain. So we're really excited about that.
We look forward to seeing you guys.
Okay, so you stand that up really nice. It is a little, you know, but this is fancy food at home, so hopefully you guys like that. We have Marcona almonds and fried tarragon, and then that's it.
Wow.
It's not that's it. Of course, we put all this work into it, but I love how just tight and neat this plate looks.
That's really pretty.
It just makes me happy when I see it.
And something so complex, and every little element has so much that's gone into it, and people just get to plop it on a plate, or beautifully arrange it at home and enjoy it fresh. It's such a treat.
Exactly.
That's great.
So then the fried tarragon leaves, and then I want you ladies to take a bite of this.
Destroy it.
And then
I'm feeling like, work of art.
see what we think. And isn't that, let me push it up here so we can get a good shot for the camera. Oh, whoops.
It's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen, but again, like Julia Child said, you just keep it going, okay? It is authentic. So you just put it back on here, take it off the stack here. And obviously at home, you guys can use your fingers. I'm trying, so these ladies don't have to eat off my fingers here. They're up. Chester. Shh. David, will you shut that door, babe? Thanks, sweetie. All right. All right, so let's go back here again. Sorry about that. And then, is that a good spot, Matthew?
Can't wait to taste this.
Wow.
It's good.
There we go. Okay, so this is it. And this goes with your Adonis drink. And it has great textures, creamy, smooth, crunchy, the nuts, the salmon. I really hope you ladies like this.
I can't wait. It looks delicious.
And while you're having a snack,
I know.
we're gonna keep the Malden salt. The Malden salt's gonna go in a few things, so maybe you saw that. And we might have given you a touch extra blood orange oil. Obviously, you can just keep that blood orange oil for any time. It's super good to use again.
Okay, perfect. Bye.
And
Not to you.
so this has been fun. Gabe and I have been having a great time making these menu items. And then soon we're gonna put everything on the menu at Rioja. So every time we do these menu items, they go on the menu at Rioja. So hopefully you guys will really enjoy that. And I'll get my next dots ready for the rabbit. And then, so what do you think, Jen? Talk to me about the pairing.
I can't get over the panna cotta. Isn't it great?
It's so pretty.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It just completely fills the mouth. It sort of melts when it hits your palate. And the I'm sorry, what do you call the sides?
The phyllo?
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm spaced with all the flavors. I'm completely distracted, but the almond really comes out in that a lot.
Yeah.
It's really
That
good.
delicate little crunch, and then the fennel's refreshing, and salmon's one of my favorite things. So thank you for
love
eating
it.
the salmon
I love
again.
our
You love
salmon. I really do. I think our salmon is the best.
And how does it
Really
go
good.
with the cocktail? Like, what do you guys think?
The bitter blood orange really
Yeah.
picks up the bitter in the vermouth.
Yep.
And
And the almondy caramely notes,
yes,
maybe?
yes, absolutely.
Nuttiness.
Wow, it's a delicious pairing. I don't often do cocktails with food. I go straight to the wine.
Right.
I have a cocktail while I'm waiting for the food to come out, and then I go straight to the wine with meals. But this is a really nice pairing.
Good.
A cocktail with the first courses.
Well, and we want to change this up, and then at home too. You guys are doing this at home. That you have a fancy cocktail that's super easy to make and execute. And this is what we want to keep doing for you guys at home as we work into the winter. We want to make you guys be able to have a super fancy meal, but it's easy to do at home, right?
Brilliant. That is delicious.
All right.
Marcona almonds, fantastic.
And if you want to share with David, you can, but I don't think you have to share
I'm gonna
with
send this
David.
over to these
Okay.
A little nibble first.
Yeah.
Now, so I'm going to start getting going because we'll have some downtime for the rabbit. What I'm going to start doing first is I'm going to put the rabbit gloss in a little tiny pot. Gabe wants to do that. Because I'm going to use that for sauce, but I'm also going to cook these little nudi, which is Italian for naked. And they're like a little ricotta dumpling. This is ricotta and spinach. I'm going to cook that again in that little sauce. You have your rabbit confit and your rabbit loin that's wrapped in pancetta. And so it's this excellent, beautiful rabbit two ways. We have beautiful products. We're so lucky that we have great purveyors. Oh, whoops, Gabe, I totally forgot my oil. Let me get a little bit of oil for us. Silly me.
Silly.
That in the
It's such a treat to see rabbit on the menu.
Yes.
It's a little rare. You don't see it every day, and when it is, it's delicious.
You always know it's going to be good.
Yeah, always so good.
Yeah. Now, a couple of these things you can also microwave. So the nudi have been fully cooked. You could just warm them slightly in the microwave. They've already been poached. They're fully cooked. Also, the squash puree, I'm actually going to ask Gabe, just lighten this lid a little bit and maybe put that in for a minute, just to save us one less thing. Thank you so much, Gabe. So first thing that we're going to do is this little rabbit loin, it's actually two loins together, so this is really fun. We've taken both of the whole rabbit, both of the loins, and we've put them together with meat glue. It's called transglutamus. And it's a natural product that's in protein.
Sure.
And so the loin is, thick on one side, it gets thinner. So we did that opposite. And then we wrap it all in pancetta so you get this perfect little cylinder. So we're gonna roll this guy around in our pan to get that brown. The confit has been cured with salt, pepper, a little thyme, a little garlic. It's been cured for a day, all the way, and then we slowly cook it in fat. Okay? It's delicious. So Gabe's gonna help me watch this rabbit. As soon as that is done, it almost cooks all the way if you brown it on top of the stove, you guys at home. I don't think you can see Gabe. If you take the time to really get the pancetta crispy, it'll almost be perfectly cooked. Now, what I do is if you notice a little bit of translucence, like I'll show you when we cut it, we can just kiss it on that pan again. You do not want to dry out the rabbit. It is so lean. I'm just asking and begging you, please not to dry out the rabbit. So we have a little bit of sauce going here, and that is my there we go. My burner is a little angry at me.
So let me take a minute while you're working on this.
Thank you. Sorry.
And I'll start to introduce this next wine, which is so special. So this is a wine called Atlantida Blanco. We also have Atlantida Tinto coming up in a couple of courses. The grape is something you've never ever heard of.
Never.
I had never ever heard of it. So the reason I wanted to get a head start in talking about this is because there's a bit of a backstory. Atlantida Blanco is a grape called Vijeriega, which has been sort of rediscovered from the brink of extinction. Sounds dramatic, but it's literally true. Alberto Ortega is the winemaker here. He's one of the founders of Olé Imports, so he's responsible for finding many of the wines that we've been tasting through in this Tour of Spain series. And he produces this wine himself as part of a long kind of history project. He's been trying to recultivate special clones of Palomino in sherry country. It's a very, very special passion project to him. But one of the side effects of this search for different clones of Palomino, which is the main grape in sherry, was that he stumbled across a couple of other grapes that weren't Palomino, and he sort of didn't expect to find them. One of them is called Vijeriega. So there are very, very, very few vines of this planted. He only makes 180 six-packs for the world every year. Which is why I had to use one of the bottles from the wine dinner in order to have one here, because we used my samples. They're gone. This is the last of what's in the country.
Yeah, just stress that. Rioja has the last of this wine in the whole country right now.
Country.
That's how special this is. So this isn't just any old thing.
Can I still get it to go?
Yes, you can. We have to set it aside.
You should probably make, if you're planning on this, obviously, get it to go and order it now because it will be gone.
It will. So this is a Vijeriega is the name of the grape. I'll just paint a picture of the vineyards. This is in Jerez, right? We're the theme tonight is Vinos de Jerez. So sherry country, Jerez, around the city of Cadiz and nearby. We're in the south of Spain. We're not far from the Strait of Gibraltar. We are incredibly ocean exposed. There are hot, humid winds, but we're also near hot southern central Spain. And the soil here is pure white chalk. So you can break a piece off and right on your face, right on the fence post. A lot of the vineyard posts are sort of tagged by people leaving their initials and things. And typically this is where sherry comes from. So there are palm trees, there are cacti, there are bushes of lavender growing all around the vineyards. And we have Vijeriega, yes. It's organic agriculture. Alberto has planted hedges of lavender which deter pests. So insects that might otherwise attack the vineyards don't like to cross over the lavender. So he just sort of created a fence of lavender all around the vineyards, which is beautiful. I love it.
If you know sherry, like you almost get that, a little bit of that nuttiness and the brininess for a white. You know, you really, you truly get it. You could pick this out and say, this is from that area.
But the acid is so much higher, right?
The acid is very high.
And it's big,
the acid is higher.
So in sherry production, the acid goes away because of fluor.
Yep.
Right.
And this has the acid. It's maintained, which is fascinating because it's a hot area. So often you have such ripeness that the acidity sort of falls off, right? We transfer sugar for acid while the fruit ripens, and it's preserved here. This grape and the red tintilla are perfectly adapted. They're indigenous to this area. And so they grow in these hot climates with very little rain. The soil is chalk and it absorbs the little rain that they get and refreshes the vineyard all year round. So it's only possible because it's perfectly adapted, and it's such a special treat to be able to have this here. So I can't wait to see what you've prepared of it.
All right, so what I've done, I was warming that little bit of rabbit sauce. I slightly put my nudie in here just to get warm, and the rabbit confit is warming in here too. Okay, so all this guy can go in here, and it's really nice because we want all these flavors together. So now what I'm going to do to plate is I'm going to take this is a butternut squash and apricot puree. I think you're gonna love this. The apricot is really beautiful. It comes out, and I just put it in the microwave to warm it. And I'm gonna put a nice dollop on here. I'm gonna make a little well in the center because I wanna tuck the confit in there. And the confit is from the rabbit shoulders and legs. And then the rabbit gloss, if you guys, why is it gloss, chef? Really, we call something a gloss when it's reduced so far down that it gets sticky. So that's what this guy is. And then let me use a different thing here. These little nudies, again, Italian for naked.
I feel like that's also English for naked.
Yeah. Yes.
Little nudie picture.
Yeah. Just not GN, right? So a little bit of this beautiful gloss around. Chester is licking his lips with the gloss.
Definitely.
And you're not getting any, yes. And then we have the rabbit loin that we're just gonna cut in half once. And if you can see in the camera, is this a good spot? It's just cook through. You don't want it to be too dark, okay? Just cook through. We're gonna put that on here. And a little bit of that Maldon salt. So we haven't salted this. We wrapped it in pancetta, but it needs a little bit of salt. So put a little bit of salt on that. And then you're like, okay, the apricot can be cleansing, but Jen, we're rich here, right? So little pickled butternut squash curls.
Ooh, fun.
Okay, they're pickled with a little sherry, a little whole grain mustard.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Okay, and then the crispy sage leaf just ties it all together. So definitely when you guys try this, I want you guys to make sure you get some sage in there with it, okay? Because it is important. It's not just a pretty garnish. We're not just pretty, okay? We are important. Okay, so let's put this up here. And pièce de résistance. So let's see how that goes.
Nice.
I'm so I love this dish.
So when you fall in love with it, it's not one and done.
This
you
is
get to go in the menu.
Yep, this is going on the menu at Rioja as well. So
I love that we're acting as sort of a little menu workshop.
I love it.
How fun.
Jump in, ladies.
Yeah.
And the
I wanna know what you
earthy
think.
with the sage, and then the higher pitched with the pickling and the apricot.
Oh, this looks delicious.
Wow. And the hardest thing I think for people at home is going to be to not just have that rabbit loin as one bite.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I'm tempted to just have it as one bite. What an indulgence. But I'll share. It's really very tender.
Yes.
Everything about this dish I love.
Okay. It's fire, as Gabe says.
Fire.
That's what we say. It's fire. Thank you. So yeah, so I think this wine is so interesting, and like Beth, I agree. You could tell its origin. If you know something about the region, you're like, is this wine from sherry? It's not sherry. Clearly, it's not sherry, but I feel like the terroir or whatever you want to say about it is coming out. You know. And I'm gonna take a bite.
Wow.
You should.
Grab my.
It's clearly a
Or
wine
this
from the
is-
sea, right?
Right.
This is
Yes.
perfect
And
for
these
this time of year.
flavors with the high pitch and the low pitch and the earthy notes and the citrus notes and the pickle and the creaminess, it's so rich. This wine is just going to cut right through that richness.
Yum. And then the nudie, I wanted to give a little bit like earthy.
On the sage too. And the rabbit.
I think
Everything.
this
So it
dish
actually
is
brightens
extremely
up the
fall.
wine. I'm getting more sort of high notes, more citrus notes out of the wine now. But there's also a touch of flintiness in the wine, and that comes because it's aged on its lees, which we've talked about in past dinners. They're the yeast cells that precipitate out of the wine after fermentation finishes, and this wine spends a good amount of time on the lees in a barrel, no bâtonnage. So
You
they're
get
not
that
being
roundness.
stirred up, but you get the roundness and sort of that toast note. It spends a little time in oak, but very, very neutral oak. So it
This is
really just
fantastic.
communicates the purity of the fruit, and this pairing is beautiful.
Good.
Good job,
I know,
Chef.
I know we have a
Bravo.
lot more to eat, so I'm
Oh my
going to
God.
pass
Yeah.
that along because that is absolutely gorgeous.
Behind us, so you guys don't see, of course, Matthew, the director of everything, is here. And David. David's here too. So next course, tortelli. Now I have an extra one out, people at home, so the animals can eat, not the actual animals. This tortelli is a really neat shape. It's like a candy in a wrapper. I think that's fun. So the filling is this Marquis de Castillo cheese, which is a raw goat's milk cheese, like almost like a manchego, but it's been aged 3.5, almost 4 years. So it is crystally and really, really, really cool. And these are going to cook fast. The filling will kind of turn liquid. So I'm going to probably microwave this quince sauce again. I'll just pop this in for 30 seconds or something like that. And then we have a couple other things here. We have our little stock butter mix. So I'm going to put that in a small pan or pot. Just our little chicken stock butter mix. That way we're going to make, oh, sorry, these containers are hard to open some days.
They're sealed.
Yeah, they're like, sir, a little hard to open. So we're gonna get this hot, and this is for our beurre fondue. My stove is trying to be cranky today, Gabe. I know. I'm like, why is it being cranky today? It doesn't like something I'm doing. Okay, so we have beurre fondue. We're gonna get that warm in one pan. And we have our boiling water. And then this guy, hazelnut golden raisin agrodolce, is a really nice mix of sherry that we've reduced with a little sherry vinegar. We plumped golden raisins in there. We very quickly poached a little bit of apple in there, crunched toasted hazelnuts, and a little bit of radicchio treviso for bitterness because it's a little, so agrodolce means sweet and sour. And I'm gonna have Gabe maybe put that in the microwave just for like 15 seconds. It doesn't need to be like super hot, just not cold. And if you tempered things, it's probably just fine. So this, I'll have a second. Let's talk about, because this is what, well, not what people think about, but this is the fortified sherry that maybe people think about when they're, thinking more about sherry.
When you think about sherry, except this is that plus steroids plus gold medal, everything. So
delicious.
So let's do a little sherry 101 because it is a category that's difficult to understand. Even for people that have their whole careers in the wine business, I find myself sort of talking around in circles and never quite understanding. Like, am I explaining? In Espanol, you say, me explico bien. Am I explaining myself well? So, to break it down and simplify, sherry means wine that's fortified, that's grown in the south of Spain. And typically, it's made with palomino, that's the name of the grape, and it's grown in albariza, which is the local name for pure white chalk soil. The color of your walls, pure white chalk soil. Then you have Fino and Oloroso categories. And the Fino category, like the manzanilla that's in your cocktail, never sees oxygen. That happens because a layer of yeast develops on top of the barrel, on top of the wine in the barrel, and it protects it from oxygen. But that yeast also metabolizes the sugar and acids in the wine and creates all of those amazing aromatics. That's Fino sherry. Oloroso sherry doesn't see that exposure to yeast. So it's turned into wine and then it's aged in barrels. Imagine having a giant storage room full of every year's vintage of wine, except it's in wooden barrels and it's exposed to oxygen. Sherry gets complicated because there's a system by which you blend everything together. I don't mean you dump it all into one tank and stir it, but with this wine, for example, they only pull out 1.5% of their whole supply every year to bottle, and then they replace that with the new harvest.
Right.
And so it's a fractional blending system. You put a little bit of the fresh in with all of the old stuff, and then the fresh sort of assimilates, right?
The Solera system's so cool.
It's a Solera system, so
cool.
it's blending the new with a lot of old, and then over time it all takes on the same characteristics.
And they used to do that in the olden times so things were consistent, right? Isn't that why it was invented?
It now.
I mean, of course now, but
Consistency is key.
But isn't that
The
why
consistency
it
is
kind
key.
of started? Is so it would be the consistent, or
I can't imagine who in the world came up with this concept,
Yeah.
but it has evolved and developed. So to give you an idea of the historical significance, this wine that you're tasting with this dinner, the Vors Cappuccino Palo Cortado from Osborne, Vors, V-O-R-S, means very old rare sherry, and it simply states that the average age of the grapes, or the wine that's in this bottle, is more than 30 years. Well, that's true, but plus, because there's no categorization to dictate the age that's in this bottle. This is from a Solera that was begun in 1790.
Yeah, 1790 people.
1790.
This is an incredible treat.
It's a gem. Think about family jewels, right? Heirlooms that are passed down from generation to
I'll
generation.
just jump in for 2 seconds.
Yes.
So 2 seconds, it'll come back, because this is lots to talk about. I've put the pasta in the boiling water. We're gonna make sure this middle is liquid, so it is. So now we're gonna put it in that little bit of a beurre fondue with a little pinch of salt. And then I'm just gonna plate this, and then we can continue and go. And I just didn't wanna, I'm sorry to interrupt, madame.
Do you want to talk us through the plating, or do you want me to keep going?
Yeah, no, I'll talk.
Okay,
I'll go
please.
real quick through the
Please,
plating.
please, take your
So what I do is put a little of this quince sauce on the bottom of the plate, and it has pectin in it, natural ingredient in a quince. So it sometimes you're like, oh, it's jellying up again as it sits, and then we put these pastas, so delicate, like little handkerchiefs on here. I have an extra one for David if we allow him to eat, Beth. And then we take
David the extra.
this beautiful agrodolce. Hey, David is an important part of this whole system here, okay?
Chester heard you say extra.
I know. Okay. And then, so the agrodolce all over. And then the few arugula leaves. Again, we need some balance here. We have some rich, we have some crunch. The arugula is peppery and beautiful. And I like to drizzle the extra virgin olive oil on here.
Wow.
I think that's really delicious. And the olive oil is important in the sauce too. So it's not just for the arugula. I think it's important in the sauce too.
Salivating.
Just a hair. And I just love this with this. And Jen's going to talk more with the sherry, but Palo Cortado, I want you to tell them, because I think it's fun, because something went awry. Now, doesn't mean bad, but something went awry with Palo Cortado, right? It was different.
Yeah.
And I like different, because I think we're different in Crafty Concepts.
So
we're
imagine.
Crazy.
Crazy good.
Crazy.
So imagine you've got a Solera. Solera simply means a stack of barrels, right? You've got this whole grouping of wine and you've been fractionally blending in the new stuff as you bottle out the old stuff, but you want it to stay consistent. And so there are people who taste each barrel to make sure that before you do any blending, everything is the same, or else you're going to change the direction of the whole
Sign me up
thing.
for that job.
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, sign me
I
up for that
know.
job. I don't mean to interrupt.
But I'll tell
I'm
you
open.
what, an ounce or two of this is so satisfying and so
Yeah.
rich and powerful. I cannot imagine doing that
Ooh,
for 8 hours a day.
that'd be pretty
Some
rough.
of these are warehouses. So we were discussing, it's like family heirlooms that are passed down. This Solera, this grouping of barrels of this wine, has traded hands many times since 1790. Currently is owned by Oforne. They don't even sell it up until a few years back. We convinced them after many hours of begging and lawyers and everything to let us represent these wines. But imagine you have had this Solera in your possession and you've been taking care of it and it's all perfectly identical, but one of the barrels before you do blending you taste and it's a little bit different. So you've got a team of people tasting. So you taste a barrel, it's correct. You make a check mark. You use chalk and mark the barrels. The next barrel is correct, Palo. The check mark is called a Palo. Palo. But then maybe you taste a barrel and it just seems a little different, so you make a Palo Cortado. It's just a sideways hash mark to say something's a little different here. And then you go on about it and maybe you circle back and maybe it's still a little
But
different.
different isn't always bad.
Not
different
bad.
can be better.
Different can be great.
So
Different is good.
they checked me off Palo Cortado, and I think I'm pretty okay.
You're pretty fantastic. Different is also sometimes considered a unicorn, which
Yes.
is
Yes.
what we call the Palo Cortado. So you take that barrel out of the Solera, you continue your fractional blending of the rest of it, and that barrel goes into maybe its own and begins its own Solera. And maybe something else goes different later, and you add it to the Palo Cortado Solera. So it's largely grouped, a collection of barrels that have all gone a little bit different from the main set, and them themselves become something separate and beautiful. Just like
So, one of the
I
things
can't
I think
wait.
to note about
Yes,
this
let's
sherry
get in
is this bottle can be open for a very long time.
Yes.
Unlike wine, where after maybe a day or two, it's shot or whatnot.
Oh, wow.
These sherries can stick around for a while.
It's true. Yeah, I touched on it briefly, but the winemaking method here is to put the wine in a barrel in the heat of southern Spain
Yeah.
with open windows
Yep.
and let it oxidize.
Yeah.
And because of that oxidization, you have this concentration. The color darkens.
Yep.
Right? It doesn't go into the barrel looking like this. It goes into the barrel looking clear. The color darkens. The flavors caramelize and concentrate. And so you can smell caramel here. You can smell nutty, oily, kind of rich flavors, but it will taste salty. So sherry is very much a fun little trick of the mind.
I love that.
There is 0 grams of residual sugar in this
I
one.
know, that's what people think. They think, oh, it's all sugar.
It smells caramelly. It
Yeah.
really does. It smells caramelly and salty and mineral and
Mhm.
briny almost.
Mhm.
But there's 0 residual
Wow.
sugar. It's just that it's cooked down and concentrated, cooked by the environment since 1790,
Just for a while.
just for a little while.
Just for a little while.
And so because it's been in oxygen for its whole life, opening the bottle just returns it to its natural state of being. It feels uncomfortable when it's corked up. It's used to being in a barrel breathing.
Isn't that fun with
This
it, you guys?
pairing is
Thank you.
phenomenal.
The hazelnut.
phenomenal.
The
The
hazelnut's
hazelnut is
really
perfect.
important.
Sorry, Jess.
The cheese.
The
Manchester.
The
cheese.
arugula.
Yeah, the arugula.
You're a little close there, buddy.
It's
Wow,
okay.
that cheese.
Isn't that good? This is a
So
very
it's-
rare cheese, so.
Fantastic when I just tried it by itself because it was gabbing away.
Mhm.
But now that I've had a sip of the sherry, the cheese, sort of the pungency and that earthiness just really maximized even more.
And there's a little, what I call in some cheese, barnyard. So I think the
Yes.
barnyard goes with this sherry really well.
It does.
So,
and it brings out the nuttiness in the sherry too.
yeah, and the membrillo,
Wow.
the quince, I think is really important. The membrillo, I mean everything.
Membrillo, so quince paste
Mm-hmm.
is a very, very important ingredient in Spanish cuisine and
This is
in
delicious.
cheese plates, and everything has membrillo de castrejón, any kind of membrillo.
Yes. So
I'm done after this. This is so good.
We
It's
have
so
to
good.
share this one with David?
no, well, I don't think so. So
Oh
David's,
my gosh.
David's job is to make sure Ginger doesn't bark anymore. Okay, so
Wow.
great, and this sherry is very, very. I don't know how to explain it. It's like so rare. It's so
Very
awesome.
special.
Like it's just really something that. I'm
So
not
to give you an idea, we sometimes speak in terms of the amount produced, and we, Olé and Obrigado, receive 53 packs for the world every year from this sherry. They can only bottle 1% of what they own. They've got to keep the rest of it in the cellar so that they can continue to contribute to it. You don't want to deplete it faster than you're building it up,
and that's why it's so expensive.
so
sometimes. That's why it's so
1%.
expensive.
But I will say that this can age in your liquor cabinet like a cognac.
Yes.
It's more rare than a Pappy Van Winkle in terms of the amount
Oh,
produced
so
every
much,
year
yeah.
for the world.
So much more.
So it's really a very special, not only an investment, but once it's open, you are the biggest danger to this bottle.
I know I am.
Yes.
So, and I also, I think that the appreciation for sherry in this country hasn't, like we haven't, Americans so far have like had crappy, like all this crappy sweet bullshit sherry, I mean, let's just say it.
Sure.
So this is non-bullshit sherry.
Most people don't get to taste this.
Yeah.
So it's such a treat that you're including it. And I love that you paired it with a savory course.
Yeah.
People often put sherry with cheese or dessert or
Always.
something like
Easy.
that. It's
Yep.
just you that's where your brain takes you. And one of the most enlightening pairs I've ever had in my life is sherry with, I think it was prime rib. Because it almost acts as the seasoning for the dish. It brings the salt.
Yeah.
It
So-
smells caramelly, but it adds salt.
So between this bottle and the white we just tasted,
Mhm.
I mean, these are two wines that you pretty much can't get anyplace else. Exactly. I mean, really.
The white Vihiriega.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, so that
Yes.
alone makes this dinner super special.
Yeah.
Get
it while you
so seriously,
I'm taking the rest of this home.
Okay, yeah.
It'll be an empty bottle.
Yeah. Okay, so,
Oh, I will
when you,
say,
oh yes.
switch to a fresh glass.
Oh, yes.
From the sherry to the next wine, or else you'll only smell caramel from the sherry. So keep a wine glass separate and a sherry glass separate, just so that you can taste the real flavors.
Okay, so for the next course, we have duck, which we've also done two different ways.
Mhm.
We weren't even thinking about it, but so we have our duck breast, we have our gyoza, which is a good way here, which is Chef Gabe and I making these, teaching the guys how to make these little gyoza. We make the dough ourselves at Rioja. We make the filling. Everything is made by hand with love. Let's warm this sauce up. So we'll start with the sauce, and we'll start with the duck. The duck has been rendered only on one side, so it's basically rare, but we've taken the liberty to get that skin nicely rendered.
And the fat side.
Yeah, and so we're gonna put a touch of oil in a pan, and let's get that fat crunchy again. And we're gonna use the same pan for the gyoza in a minute. You have two gyoza per order. I'm gonna drop them in our boiling water. So we need to boil these first. The inside the filling is duck with Chinese broccoli, gailon. That's been sauteed with ginger and garlic, and like a thick soy, and a little sesame oil. And so we're gonna cook those all the way. How you know the duck is done is you feel it. You can kind of feel that it feels firm. It's not raw, like raw meat. It feels more firm when it sets up. The natural
Use
protein.
the hand thing for duck too.
No, we do it by hand. We do them
like to know if it's like
oh,
what it feels like medium rare.
Sorry, I never do that with anything, so I don't even know.
The home cook.
I'm like,
I do it by hand.
The smoked orange puree, I'm gonna have Gabe put in the microwave for maybe 45 seconds to a minute, whatever. So we're gonna take this duck, and I don't want to burn the skin, so that looks good. I'm gonna turn it over, and I'm gonna pop this in the oven for a minute or two. If you leave it in the oven for about 2 to 3 minutes. Yeah, 2 to 3 minutes. If your oven's at 400, it'll be a nice medium rare. So if you'd like it past that, a couple minutes beyond, so 4 to 5, if you want it beyond. We have beautiful blood oranges, and we have some of this Chinese broccoli, this gailon that we've peeled and we blanched.
Wow.
And it's so beautiful, isn't it? And gailon is so sweet and delicious. I'll just warm that in the pan, or even back in the boiling water, we can warm it. Either way is totally acceptable to warm the gailon. So then we have a couple minutes. I talk wine, but I'm gonna, in a minute here, guys, you'll see me, and I'll have Matthew show the camera over here. We'll put the gyoza in the pan with the duck. So just, we'll do that while Jen's talking.
Okay. So the next wine is Atlantida Tintilla. Tintilla is another grape that was discovered when Alberto was finding new Palomino clones all around, or old Palomino clones all around Jerez and Cadiz. And it used to be very common, he's been told, for local vineyard owners and farmers to have a little bit of Tintilla along with the Palomino. Palomino is the cash crop. It's what everybody's expected to grow if you're in sherry country, because you make sherry in sherry country. But it's also true that you can't just drink sherry all the time, as much fun as that would be. So it was very common for people to have a little bit of Tintilla just to make a house wine. So it's a non-fortified table wine. It's red, as you can see. And the grape is called Tintilla. Now, there was a very difficult time that happened in sherry country and all around the world called phylloxera. It's a louse that attacked the vineyards, and it sort of destroyed everything. And many vineyards, almost all, had to be completely replanted. When that happened, a lot of the Tintilla was lost. So when Alberto kind of stumbled across these grapes, again, he was very surprised to find something other than Palomino, and began tracing the roots, tracing shipping logs from cuttings being sent to the Canary Islands and to other parts of the world. And he flew to the Canary Islands to take more cuttings, and has worked very diligently over the last several years to repropagate vineyards, replant vineyards of Tintilla. So he was the first person to produce and sell a dry red in sherry country for more than 80 years. And now I think there are 8 other wineries that are also making a Tintilla, because they see, wow, this grape is fantastic here. It should be. It's sort of evolved to be ideally suited to this climate. So again, hot, dry, except a little bit of rain in the spring, and then that chalk absorbs all of the moisture and refreshes the vineyard all year long.
Okay, let me jump in and we'll jump. So as you saw, I put the gyoza in the pan so we can fry the bottom. And they're beautiful. So the color on the bottom looks great. I'm just gonna take these out of the pan. And you want them like a pot sticker style, crunchy on the bottom. And we're gonna set this aside. Now I had the duck here, and I feel like you guys like where we were. Okay? Yeah. Alicia, there you go. So I'm gonna let this rest. So that's why we have time. I did put the gailon in the boiling water, as you saw. I got that warm. The smoked orange is warm. So all I need to do is plate, but I want to let that duck rest. I want to let the blood settle inside there, so that way you can continue. But I just didn't want anybody at home to wonder what the heck I was doing.
Perfect. So not a lot more to say, because Alberto's style of winemaking here really is just to let the fruit do the talking. So this wine comes in, the grapes are harvested, fermented, part whole cluster, actually quite a large, I think 90% whole cluster, which just means that you bring the whole bunch and you put it in a vat and let it start to ferment. So you get more stems, you get the skins, which is where all of the aromas and the flavors are coming from. And then it spends time in a couple of different sizes of oak vats, just to kind of help it loosen out the wrinkles.
This is a 2015 too.
It's a 2015. It's still pretty tight. Certainly you could decant this wine.
The sizes of the oak vats, maybe you want more wood, less wood. That's why you have different sizes. Is that right? Yeah. So smaller, you get more.
And more oxygen, less oxygen.
More oxygen, less oxygen.
So a smaller barrel will have a higher ratio of surface, right? Compared to the amount of liquid in there. And a big barrel will hold more wine, but not as much of it will touch the edges. So even though an oak barrel is waterproof, right? Wine's not leaking out of it. A little bit of air can get in, which helps the wine sort of age and mature more gracefully. Yeah. Exactly. So what I love here is that, often we talk about red wines from hot regions, and we're in Malbec country. We're in big Cabernet country, big Syrah country, right? And so you have a lot of ripeness, a lot of alcohol, but what comes through here is that there's still a freshness. I've paired this with like a seafood tower. Because
you could do that.
Because it has the mineral and the freshness, and that is all from that pure white chalk soil. And the fact that the grape is adapted in this really ocean exposed vineyard site. So it's just kind of a beautiful accident and another really fun history project. He's making 400 six-packs of this one. So not
lots of
much
sediment.
more.
Don't be afraid of that.
That's the sediment.
By any means, it happens in wines. Just watch your last drink.
So what we're doing now, we're gonna put the smoked orange puree on first, and we're gonna put a dollop of this, and then draw back. That's this little chefy thing we do, just
You're
for
an
fun.
artist.
Little chefy thing. We have the guylon. We're gonna put a piece of guylon on here beautifully. We are gonna slice the duck. You need a nice sharp knife, everybody. Slice that nice and thin. I think thin is delicious. We are gonna plate this so you can see the duck skin, because I like to see that skin. Sorry, let me put these this way. We're gonna plate this here. Duck skin side up. I like showing off the yummy crispy skin, you know. It's like one of my favorite things. And we're gonna put a little sauce on. We have the sauce warm in our little pot over here.
Then what kind of duck is this?
Rohan.
Okay.
D'Artagnan is a really nice company that we use, and they have a beautiful duck. And we also got some whole, I think, Pekin for the gyoza.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because we ground the whole duck up for the gyoza. We sauteed all the guylon, Bethy, with ginger and garlic.
Yeah.
And then ground all that with this beautiful sauteed guylon.
great.
So then we're gonna put a little blood orange on here. And you can put 1 or 2 wheels, whatever you guys like. And then the gyoza, just on here. And so
fun.
this is our beautiful duck dish. Now that smoked orange puree is more than just that. It is, we cook leeks, fennel, and carrot in a little bit of butter in a bag. And we cook that in our steam oven. So it steams. And then we take that out and then we smoke that. And then we put orange peel and orange bodies and orange juice and all this stuff to reduce it. And I think I really wanted to smoke with this. And I know it is strong, but we eat it all together. I think this is strong on its own, but not maybe when you go all together.
So that is pure vegetarian. No meat in it.
No meat, yeah.
Okay.
No meat. So
Yeah,
jump in
that
there.
side of the plate.
That side of the plate.
Not that
Yeah.
that I care.
The
but-
rest of it is definitely not pure vegetarian. So
Awesome.
I'm going in
Yeah.
with my big old knife.
But orange.
Yeah. And
Orange and duck are such beautiful pairings, and I love the citrus. Even just thinking about it, I feel like it's going to be perfect with this wine. I can't wait to try
This
it.
would be great.
well, and the guylon is really interesting too and fresh, and you know. So I'm just gonna go. You can wait on you guys.
You know, you said we didn't need a steak knife, so that piece that you already cut, I'm going to use. Except I will. Here, Beth. This is a little closer to you.
It's all right.
Oh, thank
I
you.
don't think you need it, but.
Probably not.
So Gabe, what else? That wine has a little star anise and 5 spice. I'm sorry, the sauce.
The sauce does, yes.
And Gabe loves researching all the pasta shapes, and he's been teaching us how to make the perfect gyoza. And we think we're gonna put this setup on the menu too.
Can you tell me just a food geek question?
So good with the wine.
Or maybe this is
So
just
good.
a novice question. What's the difference, since you make them in-house, between the dough that you'd use for gyoza versus the dough that you'd use for a more traditional Italian pasta?
There's usually semolina in like an Italian pasta, or eggs.
And we make this dough in house too.
This dough is just flour and water.
Hot water.
It's hot water, so it cooks the dough portion while you're kneading it and stuff like that, like boiling hot water.
So do you get more elasticity because it's cooking while you're
Yeah,
moving?
and you usually use 00 or a high gluten flour as well, and you knead it for like 10 minutes just to work up all that gluten, which makes it really stretchy and stuff like that.
Because there's always that extra kind of chewy note to something like a gyoza
Yeah.
or a
That
Definitely.
goes so good with wine. I'm sorry, I
This
was
dish
really
is- this
excited.
dish is phenomenal.
It goes so good with wine.
It's phenomenal. Yeah.
I
oh
think-
wow, it does. And the smokiness.
Isn't the smokiness
Get
so
some-
cool?
Get some of the orange in that bite.
I have to get some orange.
Yeah,
It's
and that's
so tasty.
and that's
Wow.
And that's like one of the things when we tasted the wine, I'm like, I need to put something smoky in this. That food tastes together, right?
Yeah.
And we really, and I didn't want the orange to be like how the orange was with the salmon bright. I wanted it to be a different level, you know? I wanted to get that delicious skin bitterness char. Exactly, it's like a different level. Like, you know, we chefs can manipulate, and people at home too, that's not what I meant to say with that. You know, we can manipulate ingredients to make them change and be different, and that's so cool, I think, you know? Anyway, so I'm really excited about this pairing. So hopefully at home you guys love this as much as I do. And that's why Gabe and I feel like this is our best dinner yet. So
the pairings have been just so incredible.
We're really excited.
The wines are so different. So like this whole dinner is so special.
Yeah, this dinner is all about stuff you really can't get anywhere else. Like so off the chart special. And I know Chef Gabe at Rioja and I have had a great time
So much fun
with this menu. Every single thing that is on this menu is going to go on the menu at Rioja in one shape or another. Yeah. It's been like, how could you not put that on the menu?
Well, and if you have any palo cortado left after the dinner, you can always just offer a little
that's a big if, right?
Yeah.
Who's going to have that left?
I know you won't have any Atlantida Blanco, but I might be able to get you some more palo cortado.
Okay. All right, and for the pièce de résistance, we'll do dessert, but yeah, we'll talk more.
Yeah, you took it away too soon, but we can share.
I just want to say the chocolate sauce is it may come if it's in a small plastic ramekin like this. We don't want to put this in the microwave. This is a compostable one and they melt. So please don't put these small ones in your microwave. I'm going to put this in a little pot, but you can transfer it if you want to put it in the microwave. It's totally fine to microwave the sauce, just not our compostable little.
Thank you for having compostable ramekins.
Everything that we have. Now, by the way, these delis, which aren't, but we're hoping that you reuse these at home.
Reuse.
That's like my Tupperware.
Yeah, this is our Tupperware. And they are
They're just not
recyclable.
compostable.
We reuse them, you know, exactly. It's our Tupperware.
They're great.
So hopefully you guys will be doing that too. Okay, so the dessert, so we'll get that warm. Thank you so much, Gabe. Yes. I appreciate that. And the dessert, it comes with.
You'll need that sauce pot cleaning one for the.
Oh right, thank you so much, Gabe. If you
drink.
clean that, yeah, can you clean that one, Gabe? Sorry, because so Matthew's reminding me that this last course, the dessert, is coming with another cocktail, but a warm coffee cocktail.
Please do not microwave.
Café Los Arcos.
Yes. Please do not microwave the can.
Yeah, don't microwave the can. We don't recommend it.
So Café Los Arcos, what's in this? This one I don't know anything about.
Matthew, tell us about.
So this is a little bit of liqueur 43.
Oh, yummy.
Some double strength brewed coffee.
Okay.
Which makes it, you know, end the night well.
Okay.
And then Lustau's Amontillado, Los Arcos.
Okay. So real quick on getting this done, can you tell people, you know, Fino to which cherries, because they kind of get heavier is not the right word, but stronger or
different.
Yeah. So there's like a level. So you know, we've said Amontillado, Palo Cortado. We said. Manzanilla. So what?
Sure. So I drew a line between Fino and Oloroso categories. Fino doesn't see any oxygen, so it's very clear, it's fine, it's crystal, and Oloroso sees oxygen, so it gets darker in color and oxidized and caramelized, and just because of exposure to air inside the barrels. But it is also true that that's not necessarily a firm line, and that there is sometimes some crossover. So we're going to go from one into the other. Manzanilla, Orleans Bourbon Manzanilla being a great example, is the most pungent, aromatic, clear, beautiful, expressive example of Fino. It comes from a special place, kind of like Champagne has to come from Champagne, where the floor, the yeast, gets very thick and has a much more intense influence on the wine. So more aromatics, softer acids, no sugar. Then you have regular Fino, which can come from anywhere, kind of like sparkling wine, but may not be quite as pungent and special as Manzanilla. Then we cross over, and Amontillado happens in the crossover. So let's imagine you have a Fino in a barrel under floor, but the floor is not healthy and it dies. So the Fino is now exposed to oxygen, and maybe it begins to color and it takes on some characteristics that mean it can no longer be a Fino. Then it becomes an Amontillado. and you allow the floor to die. So an Amontillado has some of the characteristics of that chamomile, the special aromatics and herbal notes that come. Manzanilla means chamomile in Spain.
Oh,
so.
I didn't know that. Manzanilla means
So
chamomile.
it's chamomile tea. Like if you smell chamomile tea, those floral notes, that comes out in the manzanilla. So an Amontillado might have some nods to that, but it's also been oxidized because the floor died and there's no point in keeping it. Can't be a Fino anymore. So an Amontillado is a show people both. It's a crossover. And then within the Oloroso category, you have.
Hold on 1 second.
Yes.
We'll go to Oloroso. This is going to show people real quick.
And again, three servings, right?
Yes. Well, if the can is full, can we can? Are we going to can it not full?
We'll can it for like 2 guests. If it's 2 guests, we'll can 2/3 of the can.
Okay, so we will can it. So I'm just going to put this on my little pot to warm, and I want to say that there's alcohol clearly in it. So I want you just to warm it, not to let it come to a boil. If you let it come to a boil, the alcohol burns off. And what are we doing? What are we doing here? So come on, people. So you want to be careful. You want to just get this warm enough for it to be a hot drink. You don't want it to be, Okay, so that's what I was saying.
It's
While
not a
that's
hot
going,
cup of coffee.
now Amontillado.
Well,
from
I'm
Amontillado.
getting into some kind of high level sherry conversations, but within the Oloroso category, we could have a whole dinner that's just about that, and maybe someday we will. We'll see. But you have the Amontillado, and then you can have regular Oloroso, which is sort of nothing's gone off the plan. It's regular Oloroso. Nothing's changed. The barrels are all the same. You can also have Palo Cortado, which we already talked about, and then there's another kind of sherry, which is Pedro Jimenez, and that's a grape. So that's not made with Palomino. That's made with Pedro Jimenez, which is like black molassesy, and those are some amazing wines as well. But very, very sweet and sticky. Still a little salty, but they won't play the same trick on your mind with the sweet smell and the salty flavor. It's just sweet, sweet, sweet.
Do they dry on the vine? Is it also that type of thing, or no?
You're thinking about
Pedro Jimenez. I'm doing botrytis.
I
don't know.
There's a lot of different ways to concentrate the flavors, and Pedro Jimenez really is just that sweet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
You're
it's
thinking Amarone. They don't.
Yeah.
Where they dry.
there's no angel share, none of that. No.
It's sweet.
I can't make an absolute statement. It's possible that some houses do, but because of the amount of time that it spends in those barrels under the hot, humid conditions, exposed to oxygen, they let that be the place where the concentration happens. Typically,
Okay.
I believe.
Okay, so while this is getting warm, we'll get the dessert ready. So we have a couple things. We have this beautiful Bavarian. And a Bavarian is a style of dessert. It's usually a cream-based dessert that is thickened with gelatin. We've made a caramel and a coffee Bavarian.
Nice.
Knowing that this would go really well. So we have this kind of a half moon. We're going to take this and we're going to put the phyllo. Again, we use phyllo twice in this dinner, which is interesting. I didn't even think about that till just now.
I like the versatility of it though. Savory
is.
and sweet.
And
Does this one have the almonds in it?
no almonds in this one. We've caramelized this one with a little sugar, and it's like just super crunchy. And we're gonna put this on the plate in this beautiful half moon that you can see the layers through it right now. So it's kind of fun how you can see the layers in this half moon. Then Eric, my pastry chef, has made these beautiful chocolate caramel truffles. And we're gonna put this on top. So there's that. We're not done yet.
He makes the
people.
best
We're
truffles.
not done yet.
They're
So then-
beautiful. Is there gold on there?
There is luster dust, which is also
Luster
here.
dust.
Luster dust, which is
Doesn't that
also
sound like a great
here.
Halloween costume?
Which is
Luster
also
dust.
here that I would love for you to sprinkle on your plate to be fancy. And then the intention of this dessert is to then tableside in front of your guest, pour the hot sauce right over that truffle. It'll melt the top of the truffle into the caramel,
Oh my goodness.
So cool.
and then that whole thing
Oh, look, there it goes.
becomes your dessert. And look at the gold. I'm not sure if Matthew they could see how the gold in the chocolate sauce goes, but it's kind of fun to see it melting in there. And so
I love
this
that.
whole
That's
just
gonna be great.
awesomeness,
Table
it's
side?
gonna be awesome.
Ready
Also
to
going
get
to the menu.
fancy at home. Is
Also
it?
going to, yep. I'm not kidding. And so that with our drink, which go ahead and take a bite. I'm almost ready here. Let me just Tastes a
One
little
more.
sip
And
of
if you
this.
have any of the red wine left, I have a hunch that it'll be great with tortilla as
Yes.
well. But
Oh, I meant to start down there.
Yes, and exactly, and the red wine will be great too. And pardon me, ladies, I'm gonna just
Sorry.
kind
We
of come over.
did talk about the red wine.
I apologize. I'm gonna scoop this over here.
A little coffee cup or something fun,
Yeah.
easy to handle with.
You can pour out of here. I just wanted to say, and you guys, if you put this in a different container, you could microwave it. Just be careful. Don't microwave the can, of course.
I'm imagining one of
And-
those, like I have a glass measuring cup.
Yeah, a Pyrex
Oh yeah, that'd be
type
fun.
of measuring cup.
So
you can
you
totally
think,
just open the can, put it
A
in the microwave.
minute and a half, something. Just
Tops.
I don't want to
45
lose
seconds?
the booze.
Yeah, 45
Yeah.
seconds to a minute.
Okay.
I say.
Oh,
Oh,
my
baby, coming in hot.
This is the prettiest
This is
thing
so
I've seen
pretty.
all night.
Isn't that
The
lustrous?
Isn't that pretty?
Yeah. Okay, ladies, jump
It's everything
in.
that it says it's
And
gonna be.
there's your drink, and I don't know. And so the feeling, like, what do you do? Just smash it. Just go in. Just
I'm glad
do
you
it.
did that.
Just do it.
Your food is so pretty, I'm always afraid to mess it up.
I know, but it tastes better.
It's the only way to
Tastes
taste it.
better when
Oh,
it's
I think you just love how light and airy that Bavarian is with the crunch of the caramelized phyllo, and then of course the sherry chocolate sauce on there. And then we just thought, again, change it up, do something different. A little hot coffee drink for dessert would be fun with the sherry in it.
Well,
Of
the
course,
weather just got cold.
you could go back to any of these. The Palo Cortado, the red wine. You can go back to anything, and this will be delicious.
wow.
Now, Jen, you cooked several courses tonight with sherry,
hmm
but I didn't send you enough Palo Cortado to cook it with.
Oh yeah, we didn't
So
do that.
what do you
No.
cook with?
So it's probably technically not even sherry. So cooking sherry, we bought some cooking sherry, and we also had some Amontillado that was an inexpensive Amontillado. You know, I mean, there's different classes of things in this world.
Sure, sure.
You know, there's box wine. There's So we don't cook with your wine ever. Just so
But
you know,
you
because
could.
God forbid. But I will tell you today, the quince sauce. To finish it, we just took a tablespoon of nice sherry, and that is a nice finish on that quince sauce to tie everything together. So sometimes we'll do a very little goes a long way in a finishing, but in a reduction, we need to use something that we wouldn't
Speaking
like
of my
have a heart
sherry.
attack.
So
you know.
I think this is super cool, this pairing, because
Yeah, what do you think of the coffee?
this coffee is got this bitterness to it that it doesn't compete with the sweetness of the dessert.
No,
So
it
it
enhances
really
it.
actually cleanses your palate. So
Nice it is.
this is super satisfying. Like that chocolatey caramel and then the creaminess. And this coffee is really delicious.
The chocolate sauce is like the perfect liquid as well.
Right? And isn't it light and airy? So you think
It
it's
is.
going to be heavy, but it's
It's so
really
good.
light and airy.
Did you see
Everything
how fast
about
we
it
ate
is
that?
Yeah.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
is really good.
Matthew knows.
Matthew's
Chef
like, wait.
I'm not a
Jen-
coffee
Jen's
drinker. I
not a
don't drink
coffee
coffee.
drinker.
I'm like the only chef in the world who doesn't like the taste of coffee.
You did good. Matthew, did you make
tea.
these?
She doesn't need
Great.
Craig made them. So the sommelier at Rioja, Craig, who anybody in-house at the restaurant on the night of the dinner will have the pleasure of walking through all of this with. He's also quite a good mixologist.
He's
great. awesome.
Yeah. So I do want to
Really fun.
say, I hope you guys enjoy this, but also next wine dinner is Bubbles. Bubbles.
My
So
favorite.
Kava.
It's gonna be really hard though because all of these dinners have been amazing and I love Bubbles. So it's all about the food and the wine together.
We
which is
step it
super
up every
fun.
dinner.
I
Dave,
know
and
we
we're
do.
ready.
I know we do. which is-
Our legs hurt from all this kicking ass. So just saying. So I mean, this is just what Gabe and I do. No,
I look tired.
no, the whole group. The whole group.
I'm delighted to see you having so much fun because I'm having so much fun. So
So
thank you for
So
continuing
the wine
with us
dinners have been amazing. We have one more officially left.
But we'll
on
do
our tour of Spain.
on our tour of
on our
Spain,
tour
but
of
we will
Spain.
do more.
But you all have holiday parties coming up, so we can do this for your holiday party. And everybody's going to be social distancing for their things, and we could Zoom everybody in. It could be super fun. So don't forget about us for that stuff.
Yeah. So I think, Matt, did you know the date of the December Bubbles dinner?
Third
It's
Wednesday?
the third Wednesday, so
So
whatever
it's
the
the
third
third
Wednesday
Wednesday.
is. And we have a really beautiful, diverse tasting of cavas and different grapes
Oh my
too.
God,
Some of the grapes I've never heard of.
This
So-
tasting was delicious.
We
It
are
was
very
Learned
good.
another side-by-side course as well with two
Yes,
yeah.
rosés.
Yes.
I love it.
So follow us at Rioja Denver on Instagram or
We have
on
a
Facebook.
Facebook
We have a
page.
Facebook event. and we'll be putting a video up.
Or
so,
call us.
Yeah.
I mean, it's super simple. Call us and we'll get you all hooked up with a reservation.
Thank you guys
Super
so
fun.
much. I hope you had fun, and have a happy Thanksgiving if I don't see you before then.
Thank you.
Thanks.